Welcome to Word Alive. Today we're going to be looking at a wrap-up of Genesis 1 through to 14. We're going to have a look at why these ancient stories still matter today. Have you ever wondered why we still read these ancient stories from Genesis? Why they still matter in a modern world filled with science, speed, and screens? The truth is, these chapters aren't just a history lesson, they're a mirror. A spiritual blueprint. If we slow down and pay attention, we'll see ourselves in Adam, Eve, Noah, Abram, and even Lot. These aren't just stories about them, they are warnings, promises, and pathways for us. I've been walking with Jesus for nearly 40 years, and the longer I follow him, the more I realize something powerful. The beginning of the Bible doesn't just tell us about where we came from. It tells us who God is, who we are, and why the world is the way it is. From Genesis 1 through to 14, we see the heartbeat of God and the consistent problem of human rebellion. But we also see moments of faith, courage, grace, and restoration. Let's walk through this journey and pull out what people did well, where they fell short, and how each chapter still speaks into our lives today. We begin in Genesis 1, where God creates everything with intentionality. The heavens, the seas, every living creature, and finally humanity. Male and female, he made in his image. It's breathtaking. God sees it all and says, "It is very good." We're reminded that we were never made by accident. There's a defined purpose in us, something the world today desperately needs to hear. But so many live as if they're random, without direction. Genesis 1 is God shouting, "You matter, you're mine." In Genesis 2, we zoom in and see a deeper picture of relationship. God gives Adam meaningful work, a place to worship, and eventually even a partner. Not an assistant, but a companion, an equal, Eve. It's a beautiful balance. Adam even bursts into poetry when he sees her, but something subtle is already happening. God had told Adam about the tree, not Eve. And when the temptation comes, Adam stays silent. That silence then and now becomes dangerous. Spiritual leadership isn't about domination, it's about speaking up when truth is at stake. And Adam stayed quiet. Genesis 3 is a great unraveling. Eve is deceived by the serpent, but Adam chose rebellion with full knowledge of what God had said. After eating the fruit, they hid, ashamed. They covered themselves, but God doesn't leave them. He seeks them out. He calls them. He clothes them. And in the middle of judgment, he promises redemption. The seed of the woman will crush the serpent's head. Still, the consequences are real. And the root of it all, disobedience, blame shifting, the refusal to take responsibility. We still live with that pattern today. Genesis 4 introduces us to Cain and Abel, two brothers bringing offerings to God. Abel gives from his heart. Cain gives from routine. God honors Abel's offering, and Cain grows angry. God warns him, sin is crouching on your door, but Cain doesn't listen. He kills his brother. It's the first human death, and it's murder. God asks, "Where is your brother?" That question echoes today. Are we responsible for one another? Yes, we are. Cain's failure wasn't just in the act, it was in the pride that preceded it and the defiance that followed. Genesis 5 may feel like it's just a genealogy, but it highlights something crucial: how people lived and died, how few truly walked with God. But one man stands out, Enoch. He walked with God, and then he was no more. No death, just taken. In a list of names and years, one life shines like a beacon. It's not about how long you live, it's about how you live. Are you walking with God, or are you just passing the time? Are you walking with God or living for yourself? It's your choice. Choose wisely. Then we hit Genesis 6 and 7. The earth is filled with wickedness, violence, corruption, perversion, but one man, Noah, finds favor in God's eyes. He's told to build a massive ark, and he obeys. Despite decades of ridicule, he builds, he warns, and then the flood comes. Everyone else drowns in rebellion, but Noah and his family are saved. It's a sobering reminder. God's patience is long, but not limitless. When the door of the ark closes, it's too late. In Genesis 8, the floodwaters recede. And what does Noah do when he steps back onto dry ground? He builds an altar and worships. That's key. Many of us cry out to God in the storm, but forget to thank Him when the storm passes. Don't just survive. Learn to praise Him during and after the rain. Genesis 9 is both beautiful and tragic. God makes a covenant with Noah, marked by the rainbow, a promise to never flood the earth again. It's a moment of peace. But soon Noah gets drunk. His son Ham dishonors him, while Shem and Japheth cover him with respect. Even righteous men stumble, but honor, especially towards our fathers and leaders, still matters to God. In Genesis 10 and 11, we see the world repopulate. Nations grow, but pride sneaks back in. At Babel, people come together to build the tower, not to honor God, but to make a name for themselves. It's ambition without submission. God steps in, He confuses their language and scatters them. Why? Because unity without humility leads to destruction. We still try to build our own towers today, our careers, platforms, legacies, forgetting the one who gave us breath. In Genesis 12, the turning point, God calls Abram, leave your country, your family, everything, and go to a land I will show you. And Abram obeys. He doesn't have the full map, just the voice of God. That's faith. But even Abram struggles. When the famine hits, he runs to Egypt and lies about his wife. Trust gives way to fear. Sound familiar? Faith isn't the absence of fear, it's choosing not to let fear lead the way. In Genesis 13, Abram and Lot separate because their herds are too large. Abram gives Lot first choice. Lot chooses the fertile land near Sodom based on appearance, not spiritual wisdom. Abram trusts God to bless him wherever he ends up. Lot chooses comfort and it pulls him closer to compromise. That's a warning for all of us. Don't move towards Sodom, no matter how green it is. Finally, in Genesis 14, Lot is taken captive. During a regional war, Abram could have said, "Not my problem." But instead, he arms his men and rescues Lot. He honors family. Then he meets Melchizedek, the mysterious priest king, and offers him 10% of everything he had. When the king of Sodom offers Abraham riches, Abraham refuses. He doesn't want anyone else but God to get the credit and the glory for his blessing. It's a powerful picture of faith, loyalty, and righteousness in action. Meanwhile, Lot, rescued once again, chooses to return to Sodom. God may rescue us, but we still have to choose not to go back. We still have to choose God first, not the things from our past that pull us back. So what does this all mean for today? Well, Genesis 1 through to 14 is more than the opening of the Bible. It's the foundation of human behavior, divine purpose, and eternal patterns. We see the same things today: pride, rebellion, broken families, false worship, God's mercy, and his righteous judgment. But we also see that God always preserves a remnant. He always speaks. He always invites us to trust, obey, and walk with him, even in a corrupt world. And then we need to remember, in all this, we're called to worship Jesus Christ. If this journey helped you, I invite you to like, subscribe, and share this with someone who needs to see the Bible come alive. I'd love to hear from you. Drop a comment below and tell me which person in Genesis 1 to 14 do you relate to most right now and why. I trust you have a wonderful day. This concludes our first series of Genesis. We'll be back with series 2 and 3 a little later, but next week I'm excited to start a new series. Our new series will be about men, Christian men today facing a unique set of challenges that test their faith, character, and leadership. I'll be going through 10 of the biggest issues they encounter. So I'm really excited to see you next week. God bless and see you next time.